What's up, guys? Welcome to Son of a Ditka podcast with Taylor McDermott,
Hey, what's up, guys?
and I'm Cole Van Way. We're just wrapping up the first round of the draft. We're gonna be short and sweet here on this one. Um, what was your biggest surprise of tonight, Taylor?
My biggest surprise, and it might be a surprise that I say this, honestly, the fact that the Packers did not draft a wide receiver. My biggest surprise. I was expecting the Packers are going to fully commit to some sort of offensive weapon, mainly in the wide receiver category. I know that everyone knows that Devontae Adams is now sitting in Las Vegas right now with the Raiders, and here we are. Packers, I get it. Defense wins championships, but you have a caliber player like Aaron Rodgers, and he has no weapons to throw it to. That's my biggest surprise.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely up there. After you pretty much wave goodbye to Jordan Love by extending Aaron Rodgers, you would think that you're just gonna go all in for him this year. And I understand, picking with your board and best available and not reaching for guys, but it's it's hard for me to believe that Quay Walker and who'd they take? And Devontae Wyatt are hard fast better than, Christian Watkins or George Pickens.
Just any
Um,
type of wide receiver at this point, like seriously,
yeah,
just offensive
yeah,
needs.
yeah. I would say I would say my biggest surprise, um, man, it's tough because there was a couple. My biggest surprise probably was the Cowboys taking Tyler Smith, out of Tulsa. I I think Tyler Smith is a good player. I think he needs like coached up. He needs to develop a little bit. But I would have been okay with the Bears taking him in the second round. Even then, though, I would think it's a tad of a reach. I think he'd be perfect for like a trade down situation in the second round. Um, but yeah, taking Tyler Smith over some of these guys that are still on the board. And I mean, like right now as it looks, I got three of my top 10 on my big board still available, and 5 of my top 12. I have 19 through 27 still available. Like there are dudes on the board. um so Cowboys doing that when I know they needed offensive line help, but man, Jermaine Johnson was right there. He was falling, and after the loss they had at edge, like they needed to fill that.
Oh yeah,
Um, and N'Kobe Dean and Devin Lloyd were still on the board there, and they could definitely use help at linebacker. So I don't know. I mean, look, that's why they're in their big fancy draft war rooms, and we're here recording a podcast. But um, I didn't agree with it. I'm sure a lot of Cowboys fans didn't either, and only time will tell if it paid off.
yep. And I mean, to no surprise, as far as what is the biggest surprise in the first round, I think me and you can both agree that the AJ Brown, that was pretty huge. As far as him getting traded to the Eagles. What are your thoughts on that? As far as like who won that trade?
I think it's easy to say that both teams could won that trade, just because I think obviously by both of them doing the trade, both front offices have a different view on wide receivers, because right now wide receivers are making big bucks in free agency, and it's shown the past few drafts that you can get guys in the first, second, and third round that can contribute immediately, and be top players in the league. But also you get these guys that um, are fine paying, well established wide receivers. And um, I mean, the Titans got obviously the 18th pick for it, and a fourth rounder and pick 101. Um, and they signed him to a 4-year $100 million extension with
Yep.
57 million guaranteed. So they didn't waste time. I mean, that trade it was definitely hinged on an extension right away. Um, but I can't be mad at it. I don't think I would have done it in that situation, because I'm not a huge fan of trading away established pieces for and replacing them with a draft pick
Yep.
right away. But yeah, I like I said, both teams obviously had a different view on wide receivers, and I think that's the same with the Hollywood Brown trade. I mean, he hasn't. I don't think he's panned out to be what they thought he would be when they picked him a few years ago. But he's still a productive piece and a good speedy guy for Lamar Jackson to have on that offense. But now the Cardinals paired him back with Kyler Murray. They played together at Oklahoma, um, and they got another fourth rounder out of it, pick 100. So I think you're going to see a lot of these big market wide receivers traded um, because there's some sort of connection. Like Devontae Adams played with Derek Carr in college. Um, Hollywood Brown, obviously, with Kyler Murray. So a lot of these guys their teams are trying to just build around their quarterbacks and give them zero room for excuses. And
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Packers right now that didn't draft a single wide receiver.
yeah,
But
they, you know, Aaron Rodgers, what is he? Multiple time Super Bowl winner. You would assume by the way they seem to build the team around him. I mean, the guy hasn't been to a Super Bowl since he won it. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Um,
yeah,
which team do you think won the first round?
so
I
I'm gonna kind
guess.
of combat back into this like AJ Brown because I still think this is still like something that I kind of want to talk about. Personally, I believe that Tennessee kind of won this trade, and the reason being is that um, AJ Brown is a soon to be free agent. Was and obviously with the wide receiver market going on right now, and what we just saw with this contract and the extension that the Philadelphia Eagles just put in place for him, that there was also articles talking about how I guess AJ Brown was being pretty voiceful about wanting to be out of Tennessee, which I understand. Nobody really wants the ball thrown to him from Ryan Tannehill, and you got to kind of take it in play that they basically replaced AJ Brown with a fresh pair of legs. I mean, AJ Brown has came off of a season who couldn't necessarily stay on the football field for majority of the season, and I think the year before that he also has missed some sort of time. So he definitely has some sort of like health prone issues that he has to deal with, and on top of that, I think Tennessee can also move forward from possibly just losing out on this player in general, losing all value because of that free agency that is coming up next year. So personally, I believe that the Tennessee Titans actually came out and won that trade. Now, to combat with this, I personally believe that the Philadelphia Eagles won this draft, the first round. Reason being is because they are supplying more weapons around Jalen Hurts. We are going to find a Devontae Smith and now an AJ Brown wide receiver core. That sounds deadly. Devontae Smith didn't necessarily have the most insane rookie season because Jamar Chase overshadowed that quite a bit. But we're also seeing a Devontae Smith that still performed. He was right there along with Jalen Waddle, and he didn't put up numbers like once again Jamar Chase, but he was still that go-to guy for this Eagles offense. Now the pressure is going away from him with having a guy like AJ Brown come through, and you also have to take in they just picked up a D tackle from Georgia, Jordan Davis, an absolute freak. Now the Eagles might come into the season, this 2022 season, and they might be able to perform for that NFC East. Seriously, like I'm talking like I think that they could possibly take that NFC East.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't argue with it. I mean, I was a huge Traylon Burks fan coming into the draft, and essentially, you're replacing AJ Brown with a guy that really could turn out to be another AJ Brown, and
If
you're
not
getting
better,
him for, right, yeah, and you're getting him for 5 years and a whole lot less money. So, like I said, I think both teams are going to pound the table and say they won the trade, which sometimes that's the best trades when everyone's happy on both ends. Um, for on my end, I think the Jets won the first round, not
Okay.
only because they had three first round picks, but just the quality of players they got, and it wasn't a reach either. Like you didn't feel like the Jets were um,
The Jets.
just ignorant with
Yep.
trading away their draft capital to move up, and their GM Joe Douglas mentioned that they had Ahmad Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson. Um, they were on their top 8 of their big board of the entire draft, and they ended up with all 3. Jermaine Johnson falling to where he was at what I believe they got him at 26, something like that. It is incredible in itself. I think it's pretty obvious, with the first 2 picks, Garrett Wilson and Ahmad Gardner. I think those guys are slam dunk picks for where they were as early as they were in the draft. Um, but to trade back up using one of their second round picks to trade back up into the bottom half of the first to get Jermaine Johnson it's a good move. It's a good move. They're setting themselves up now to get some depth pieces tomorrow and maybe load some more offensive weapons for Zach Wilson. And I don't know. I feel like we've said this, time and time again about the Jets of, oh, they won free agency and then they go and win 3 games, or they did great in the draft and, they, win 2 games. And I'm hoping Robert Saleh is the difference maker in this, and that he can just get the most out of his guys. And I believe in him as like a man, and him being able to talk to his players. And so I think this is a great step in the right direction. It would be cool to see the Jets being good again. I think it would benefit the NFL and New York in general. Both New York teams have been absolute trash. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the past few years, and so I think the Jets definitely won the day for me.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to look too. The Jets are going to have to perform sometime soon. I mean, you're looking at that division itself right now. You have Buffalo, Patriots, Miami sitting right there, you know, and Buffalo, the caliber team that they are, and then you could almost say Miami and the Patriots are kind of neck and neck with each other. The Jets are still sitting at that bottom, even though that they did have a good draft night. These guys are gonna have to carry over and develop these young guys that they just took from this draft night and really make a piece out of this team. Because as of right now, they're still, even from after this draft night, they're still at the bottom tier of this league, even after this draft. So yeah, I agree with you right there. I believe that I would say that they're on my list neck and neck with the Eagles right there. I just feel like the Eagles kind of walked away with a home run tonight just with the AJ Brown deal. As far as like the contract and stuff, I mean, the wide receiver market's crazy right now, so can't really,
Well,
you know.
it is what it is. Yeah, if they're gonna you make that deal knowing you're gonna pay him. You're not gonna trade away your first round pick for a 1 year rental. Um, and that
Yeah.
kind of ties into something else that was talked about on the draft um, network tonight. Just talking about how the AFC is obviously clearly stacked with quarterbacks and like future Hall of Fame, like all pro quarterbacks. And there's a lot of these teams right now who, like the Raiders, Derek Carr. He was probably the best worst quarterback in a division in the entire league. And you got these other teams like Zach Wilson, and you got guys that like have potential in their quarterbacks, but they aren't on the same level as Mahomes and Herbert and Russell Wilson and those guys. And so what you're doing is if you know, okay, we're not going to have an opportunity to get a slam dunk quarterback, just load your defense up. And I think the Jets did that well, getting Sauce Gardner and shoring up that secondary, and then Jermaine Johnson. And I think you kind of seen that with a few teams tonight, just being able to um, understand, like look at themselves and their division and their conference, and realize like, okay, we are kind of in the bottom half of the QB tier here, so we need to find some other way. And if we can't beat them with our quarterback play, then we're gonna have to try to get their quarterback on the ground or um, cause some interceptions.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, defense wins championships, so you can always take that in accountability. I always just think, you got to look at, what are the needs versus the wants. I don't know. I agree. Jets did a good job. I
Mm-hmm.
applaud them for what they did. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
they're still in that Browns stigma as far as like just that poverty franchise for the last how many
Yeah.
years. But yeah. All right. Moving on. So
Yeah.
now We're done with round one. We're heading to round two. Bears are sitting there at number 39. We already know. I got four good wide receiver names in my head. I got one that I have a huge crush on. Who are we grabbing?
Man, I was surprised that Christian Watson made it out of the first round.
Seriously.
With both Packers picks, I was just praying that it wouldn't be his name. And toward man, every pick, I was starting to bite my nails a little bit. But yeah, there Christian Watson, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, and I'm a big David Bell fan. He didn't test too well, so his stock is kind of dropped. I mean, it's looking like you could maybe get David Bell there at 71 tomorrow, but I wouldn't count on it. But yeah, they're going to be set up to they're going to be set up to get either Watson, Bell, Pickens, Tolbert, Sky Moore, Alec Pierce, John Mechie the third. Like they're going to have options there, and then that's not even talking about what the best offensive tackle available in Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan, and then we have uh, a guy that I think could step in and play right away on that defense, and Drake Jackson, an edge rusher from USC. There's so many names still available on the offensive line, the defensive line, linebackers, corners. Tariq Woolen, a big freaky corner out of UTSA. There's so many options there that um, I think it would be the best scenario for the Bears if Malik Willis somehow gets into that 37 to 39 range, and you get teams calling for a trade up. And I think that would be perfect because I've been a huge fan this whole process of the Bears trading down from 39 and potentially 48. Um, and if you get a team, when a team is trading up for a quarterback, chances are they're going to pay a little more because you don't want to lose out on your quarterback. You don't want to see a quarterback that you really believe in go to somewhere else and succeed. So they're going to pay a little bit more for that. And I mean, I think it's very, very possible that you can see a second round pick for next year in return for trading up like that. And that would be huge. That would be huge for the Bears. And I think tomorrow they're going to have a great opportunity to trade back, get more capital for this year's draft, but also for next year's, and still be able to get some really good players and difference makers and possibly week one starters, which will be huge for a team that we know isn't going to be great this year, but is going to be huge on development.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it kind of goes against Ryan Poles, when he first sat down and signed the paperwork, he wants to build through the draft. He wants to sign the day ones. Um, but as far as that, I mean, I think Bears fans can walk away from this and be happy with that 39th pick. We walk away with any type of wide receiver as far as the best overall option, of course. Because I think you go, the George Pickens, the Christian Watsons, the Alec Pierce's, David Bell's. I think if you walk away with any type of those names, I think Bears fans, I think the Bears themselves, I think everyone can just be comfortable and we can be happy and we're like, all right, we did our job. Now everything else, that 48-71, that's more so, there's work that can be done. There's work that we can trade back from there. I just think as far as what we got sitting right in front of us right now, knowing that Christian Watson, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, David Bell made it out of the first round, I think we completely attack that right there because we saw this draft and it was like, what was it, like the first like 10 went defense, and then all of a sudden that 10 through 20 it was like wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. It was like, oh my god, these guys are getting taken early.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden went back to defense through that 20-30, and I was like, whoa, so there's a chance. And then all of a sudden, it started slowing down, and it was like, oh my god, Minnesota, I can see their names 32nd, they're not getting a wide receiver. So then it made sense. I was like, okay, 39, if they're there, we take a wide receiver.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Bears are picking number 7 tomorrow, and you still have Matt Corral, quarterback, Malik Willis, quarterback, Desmond Ritter, quarterback, Sam Howell, quarterback. And these teams, it was hard for them to hold off on trading up into the first round to get him on just that extra fifth year option. That's huge. I was very surprised that a team didn't trade into the 31st or 32nd pick just to secure that fifth-year option. But when you're talking about the level of wide receivers and offensive linemen, and honestly defensive linemen available, and the Bears pick 7, and with what did I just say? 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks available. I mean, that's looking pretty damn good. They're gonna they're I believe they could trade back with 39 and still get the same guys they could at 39, only because of the quarterbacks still there. And we're not even we didn't aren't even talking about the offensive linemen and the defensive backs and some of these other guys that are going to be available for other teams. And um, it'll be a good day. It'll be a good day. I would be hard pressed if I lay my head down on my pillow tomorrow and I am pissed off with what they did. Because, I mean, honest to God, I don't even think Ryan fucking Pace could mess this up. And Ryan Poles, I think he's a little bit smarter than God Pace, but man, I think Bears fans are going to be very happy tomorrow. And we have 3 picks: 39, 48, and 71. So it'll be a great day. Hopefully, there's some trade backs going on, so day 3 of the draft will be that much more exciting, and that we can finally see an uptick in Bears football. Got any last thoughts, Taylor?
Nope. I'm just I'll save it for tomorrow as far as what happens. So I'm pretty content right now. I love seeing that none of these guys that I fully want these guys to be on the Bears. None of these guys got picked off the first round. So I am content. So I'm here for it.
Sweet. Well, all right. We will catch you guys back here after rounds 2 and 3 tomorrow. Let's just hope there's a wide receiver and at least one offensive lineman taken there. And we want to thank you guys for watching and tuning in with us. And have a great night.
All right,
Peace.
see you guys.